What's going on, barbarians? Welcome to another video. And this time we're going to look at the career and life of, let me say this right, Didier Drogba. Hopefully I said it right. Tell me how to pronounce it the correct way in the comments if I didn't do it right. But yes, we're going to look at his illustrious career and how he became an African legend. Before we get into that, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification button, man, so y'all can get, those alerts of every time I drop a video, because I drop one every single day. I'm trying to catch up on 100 years worth of football so I can learn this illustrious sport, okay? All right, then. All right, let's get right to it then. We're going to look at the career of Didier Drogba.
Has provided us with many incredible stories, but this is undoubtedly one of the most impressive. He escaped poverty, nearly gave up on football, and even when he got his chance, it took years before he finally made it, and once he did, he broke records, used his influence to save his country from a literal war, and went on to become arguably...
Alright, for some people who don't know, like when it comes to like Africans and being Black American, we can tell the difference between each other. I think this guy might be from like Ivory Coast or something like that. It looks real, like they have like a real distinct look. Am I right? I don't know if we're going to see.
The most clutch player of all time, a big game monster that nobody could stop. And today, I'll tell you all about it. Welcome to the life of Didier Drogba.
It looks like it's from the Ivory Coast because they look like created players. Like everybody I've seen from the Ivory Coast looks like somebody you would make in the game Fight Night. Like that's what they look like you would make a creative boxer.
It all started in the worst way possible for young Didier. The Ivory Coast was in the midst...
Told you! I told you! They look very distinct. I told y'all, man. I knew it. They look very distinct. Man, I knew it.
Of a sharp economic decline, and even though his parents were pursuing a career in banking, soon even they would have no way to provide for their son. And in an act of desperation, they would send him to France. As he arrived at the airport, he had a sign strapped around his neck, saying Didier Drogba to meet Michel Goba. Goba was his uncle, a footballer who played at Stade Bretois and who had financed his move to France. From the get-go, his parents made sure to...
That's dope that family can, come through and get you out of poverty and make that happen like that.
Say that he was not to be put into a football academy. He had to focus on school, but his uncle, loving football as much as he did, immediately signed him up for training. There was some back and forth, but after much debating, his uncle convinced him to let him play as a hobby. As much as his uncle tried to keep Didier happy, by the age of 8, he had been completely devoured by homesickness. He missed his parents so much, he was willing to endure wherever it took. So, he went back to the Ivory Coast. After 3 years there, where he mostly played in a parking lot with his friends, the economic crisis worsened, and once again the parents were forced to send Drogba to be with his uncle. This time around,
I'm not gonna lie, like as far as like sending people... If you could send your children to have a better quality of life, I think that should be the thing. If you know you're in a country where there's a crazy economic downfall, like crazy, and the country's collapsing or there's a certain type of wars going on or any of that, you can send them somewhere, do it. Do it. If you have the opportunity to do it. And I think that probably clearly we're doing a video on him and he became a legend. That was the best decision that they made. But for anyone that's probably watching this and you have the ability to do that and go get a better quality of life, I know you're going to miss your family and everything like that, but do it. And even for people that's from the United States, if you have the opportunity to go to a bigger city or go to a better town than the one that you're living in, go do it. Take the chance. Go miss those friends. You're going to have to go miss those friends. You're going to grow apart anyway when you get older. You might as well go do it and look out for number one. Ain't nobody going to take care of you but you. When you're at your lowest, the only person that's going to have you is you. So you got to look out for number one first. So parents did the right thing.
Began taking football more seriously, and oddly enough, he would choose to start playing as a right back. It would be his uncle who would tell him, people only care about the strikers, you need to play up front. And so, he began playing as a forward. The following year, his parents would move to France as well, and oddly enough, it would be at this time that he would begin to underperform at school, being forced to go back and repeat an entire school year. His parents were so pissed at his lack of focus that they would ban him from playing football. After 1 year away from it, they would move to the suburbs of Paris and Drogba began playing for Levallois. Over the next few years, he made his name known all over town, and eventually, he would be promoted to the first team and he would even score on his debut, but with
Oh, you started putting in work after that. It took that little year. Hey, man, go get your head together and get it right. So, like, when it comes to these smaller clubs, and from what I learned when I did the video about like why American soccer sucks because of the entry. So it's really like a low barrier entry. Are they more willing to take in immigrants when it comes to this? Because there's a deep correlation here between poverty and great players to the fact that they're like get rich or die trying. They're like we cannot go back to being in the slums or the ghettos or where we came from with dirt grounds, no cement, no, you know what I'm saying, no type of proper infrastructure, anything. So do they kind of lean into like, hey, we'll take in these immigrants to come play this sport because we know they're gonna have that extra drive to become the best players? Do they do that?
without any explanation, he would not be kept in the first team. By the age of 19, most big local clubs were scouting him regularly, even PSG had their eye on him, but out of nowhere, he got injured. And when I say out of nowhere, I mean it. He was literally in the middle of a match when he ran off the pitch, tripped on a sprinkler head, and slammed his body into a wall.
God damn.
The hit for his signing cooled down, but still, Le Mans took the chance, and Drogba moved to their city. At this point, it seemingly was make it or break it for the striker, and everything just went wrong. Over the next 2 years, he fractured 2 of his metatarsals, his fibula, and his ankle.
God damn.
Drogba was in his 20s without any prospect.
How the hell did he even do something like that? How do you... That's crazy.
Of a career in football, and with his first son on the way, he soon decided to focus on his studies instead. By the age of 21, Drogba had finished his accounting degree, and fun fact by the way, apparently even to this day he is still enrolled as a certified accountant, which is hilarious. At this point in time, life would throw him a
Gotta get the education first because you gotta have some type of fallback. You always gotta have some type of fallback. And I gotta go to the big screen for this. So young people that are watching this, if you want to do something that is like low probability of success, but it's very risky. But you know if you are successful, it could change your life. Period. Always have your plan B. You know, you hear the stories of people like, man, I ain't had no plan B. It was just plan A. It was just that because they didn't have any other resources or they wasn't looking for any other resources. But the smart thing to do, just in case you don't quote unquote make it, go get that. Go get a trade, some type of certificate, something that you can fall back on, just in case. Just in case. Then go all in. That is something now that these new college players are figuring out now now they're getting these scholarships to go play for these teams you notice they've been playing the full 4 years or they're playing 2 years minimum so they can go get some type of degree. So just in case some injury may happen, you can have a career after that. An injury can happen or you just plain old just don't make it. Whatever. Anything can happen. Make sure you have a fallback. And that's what he did. He still became an accountant, and then he's like, all right, then we're going to go back into the sport and try to become the greatest whatever. But always have something in reserve.
Curveball. As he seemed closer and closer to giving up on the dream rather than pursue it, Le Mans decided to, after only 2 competitive games in the previous season, offer him his first professional contract. There was some hesitation, but Drogba had to take it, and so, on his first season, he would score 7 goals in 32 matches. These numbers weren't the most impressive, and an injury over the preseason would see his spot being taken over by another player. Drogba would be benched, and when used, he would be put on the wing. He struggled a lot, only scoring once throughout the whole season. By his third, he had bounced back a bit, but he was still not playing as well as they'd hope him to be. And so, when Jean-Gau proposed the move in January, hoping Drogba would replace their striker Fiorese, who had just moved to PSG, they decided it would be the best for all parties that he left. Once at his new club, the coach put 100% faith in Drogba, being completely convinced that he would become a top player. This leap of faith would be key to the development of Drogba. who at 23
Hey man, as long as you got somebody that believe in you, what you're gonna make it.
was finally being given a chance at the top tier of French football. On his first match, he scored and immediately would be on the fans' good side, but the rest of the season lacked good performances and soon everyone would start losing confidence in his abilities.
Dang.
At this point, Drogba was closing in on 25 years of age and something had to change, and so Drogba picked himself back
What is with the age of 25? So age of 25 is basically they're kind of looking at you like you're getting old in that sport. Like you're not running, you're not as crisp because at that point, around 27, I would say 27, 32 years old on it, you're starting to get into your prime. So what about 25? Is that making them just like, you're not as spry as you used to be when you was 21? I feel like you're not your fastest, you're not your strongest, not anything below 25. So what was the problem with him being 25?
up and even told the coaches he wanted to stay and prove his worth. What followed was 21 goals in 39 matches for a team who had just barely escaped relegation. This year changed everything. It brought him a 7th place finish and qualification for the Intertoto Cup. It brought him his first few matches, goals, and even his first hat-trick for the
So for relegation, is 8 and below? 8 and below get relegated?
Ivory Coast national team. But above all, it brought him the notoriety necessary in order to complete his dream move. Didier Drogba was moving to Marseille only 1 year after his signing to Jongon for 150,000 euros. It would cost Marseille a whole 6 million to get their man. As he arrived, they were in need of some change. They were in the early stages of their rebuild as they attempted to come back from their awful performances over the turn of the millennium. Drogba was pretty fast to get in sync with the new team, and in the Champions League, he would absolutely dominate. In the first game of the group stage, he would score against Real Madrid, then he would score all 3 goals in a win against Partizan, and finally, as they met Porto, he would score again. Unfortunately, Marseille had already been defeated twice, and his second round performances failed to meet their expectations, and they would go down to the UEFA Cup. Once there, Drogba would score the only goal against the Dnipro. Then he would score 2 out of the 3 goals they scored in order to beat the mighty Liverpool. Even as Drogba missed the
putting in pain. What? They got Liverpool out the way. Oh, he's putting in pain.
Second leg against Inter, he would make sure to score the only goal in the first leg, and in the semi-final, he would score both goals against Newcastle. Marseille had made their way to a final while scoring a total of 8 goals in 6 matches, and 6 of them had been scored by Drogba, only made more impressive by the fact that out of the 2 goals that weren't scored by him, one of them was scored in a game he didn't even play in. To say he had been essential so far would have
when you become the scorer, you the man. You can have anything you want at that point.
Have to be a joke. He had been everything for Marseille. Unfortunately, in the final against Valencia, the goalkeeper Fabian Barthez would give away a penalty and get sent off in the last minutes of the first half, and from then on, it was pretty much game over for Marseille. Regardless, Drogba had finished the season with an incredible 32 goals, and so, the man who just 2 years prior to this was playing in the second tier, was now the UEFA Cup top scorer, a UEFA Cup finalist, and the target of a £24 million bid from Chelsea that Marseille just couldn't refuse. This sort of meteoric rise to fame is normally associated with young players, but Drogba...
So from what I understand from the transfer videos, is they offer 24 million and then they pay him whatever they work out after that, correct? Alright, that's all I wanted to know.
Drogba was 27 already. He had no time to waste. Over his first 2 seasons, his goal-scoring tally wasn't the most impressive, but he was already showing 2 of his most talked about traits. He seemed to love the Champions League, scoring much more frequently in that specific competition, and he was clearly a player for the biggest of stages.
Yeah, so for the Champions League and all for that, it's different rules as opposed to La Liga, Bundesliga, Premier League, all that stuff. Like it's different rules because it said that he likes it, so because he like it, so it gave him more opportunity to be a striker. Like I'm not getting like what will make him prefer that over the other leagues. Like is it more like how I'm trying to say like certain leagues, like one would be more team play, another league would be more centered around the striker. One might be more defensive heavy. One might be more aggressive. You get what I'm saying? So what would make? I did a video on the leagues, but it didn't describe like, okay, what makes this one play style different than this other league. It never described that. It only like described what teams and whatever areas, but it didn't describe the play style. So what would make somebody prefer the Champions League?
His most notorious moments would come as he scored twice against Bayern in the quarterfinals of the Champions League and an extra-time goal to clinch the Carling Cup against Liverpool in the first season, and then scored 2 to give his team the win over Arsenal in the Community Shield and won the award for most assists in the league in his second year. Besides this, and even though the league seemed to be the competition in which he shined the least, is still to come 2 Premier League titles, which is always very nice. But sometime between these 2 seasons, something incredible happened. Drogba was playing the World Cup qualifiers with his national team, and he had been in great form, scoring 9 goals over the 10 games he had played.
What?
But this would be far from the highlight. You see, since the early 90s, the Ivory Coast had been in civil war. At the north, there were the Muslim rebel forces, and in the south, Christians who sided with the current government, which had taken over through some controversial elections.
I remember this. And the reason why I remember that because they said that America had a lot to do with their current government. So people don't understand what be going on in Africa is that we do something in America called proxy wars. So proxy wars is basically America warring with other countries by using other countries. So we'll go over to a country, infiltrate their government, put whatever leaders that we feel that'll favor us or the European Union or NATO or whatever for their resources. And then another country will supply, arm up a quote unquote rebel force or whatever to overthrow that government that we had our hands in. So I kind of remember this. And that's basically what a proxy war is. It's just 2 bigger countries just sponsoring sponsoring wars in other countries and civil wars and stuff. It's crazy.
It seemed there was no way to achieve peace in this country. In a way, it could be seen that they were truly divided, at times seeming like they had nothing in common. But that's where Drogba came in. As the post-match interview took place, he requested the microphone, gathered his teammates, and began addressing the people of the Ivory Coast, saying, "Men and women of Ivory Coast, from the north and the south, we prove today that all Ivorians can coexist and play together with a shared goal, to qualify for the World Cup. We promise that the celebration will unite the people. Today, we beg you on our knees." And at this very moment, Drogba signaled to his teammates and they all kneeled down in protest while staring at the camera. "Forgive, forgive, forgive. Please lay down your weapons, old elections, everything will be for the better."
That's dope.
It's very easy to dismiss this as meaningless, but the Ivory Coast had been desperately in need of something to unite their people. And why not football? As Drogba, a man from the south, let out these words, he had the arm of a Muslim man from the north wrapped over his shoulders. As players living abroad, they saw their homeland as one, when the people who were there failed to see it as such. Their words did not go unheard. Before the
That is dope. That's a pivotal like moment in history that really needs to be talked about more. So Americans that are watching this, this is dope. There's other things going around the world, y'all. There are other things that's going on, and they have their own figures too, and that's very big. He should be having murals on the wall.
2006-2007 season, Drogba would once again come in action for the Ivorian national team, scoring in 3 out of the 5 matches as they eventually lost out to Egypt in the final of the African Cup of Nations. Despite this upset, this season would be his first to be deemed legendary, and oddly enough, it would be his league performances that would stand out the most. Drogba would score 20 goals in the league and take the Golden Boot for the first time in his career. Unfortunately, Chelsea would still miss out on the title by 6 points. But to make up for this disappointment in the league, Drogba would score both goals in the Carling Cup final against Arsenal and the only goal in the FA Cup final against Man United to bring both trophies to the bridge. As you might have realized by now,
so European countries can come play in African leagues. Because that what he said. He said they were playing them in the African final. It was that AFCON. European teams could play in that? Or I'm confused.
No, Drogba really liked to score in finals. As Drogba joined the Ivory Coast once more over summer, he would realize that his words years ago had not been enough to change the path of the country, so this time around, he would adopt more drastic measures. He would persuade the president himself into moving one of the African Cup of Nations matches to the city where the Northern Rebels' stronghold was located. I'd like to know what Drogba said to him, because no one expected anything from this proposal, but somehow it happened, and as Drogba put the 5th goal into the net in injury time, the fans invaded the pitch in euphoria. No matter whether Drogba had been born in the south, he was their hero. Government officials watched from afar, and this moment facilitated negotiations, and only a few months after this, the first disarmament had been reached.
That's dope, man. This is crazy. This is a crazy story.
Once, someone had managed to unite the people of the Ivory Coast. The beginning of the next season was tough. Mourinho left and Drogba seemed broken. He had reportedly been reduced to tears after being made aware that he would be gone soon, and he even told France Football that he played for the manager and that the team now seemed different, that he wanted to leave Chelsea. Regardless, he stayed, and by October, Drogba would hit top form and score.
Okay. I see why this game is bigger than the sport itself. As you can see just by playing this game and being some symbol of hope, especially when you're coming from impoverished countries. You're coming from impoverished countries and you're willing to be some symbol of light, a beam of light, a symbol of hope to stop wars. That is insane. No sport in the world can do that besides this sport. I get it.
8 goals in 8 matches before
this is me, I get it.
Being out for a month because of a knee injury. It's undoubtable that over his career, Drogba proved to be a legend and deserving of a high placement at the Ballon d'Or. But how he managed the 4th place finish that year is beyond me. It's not that he wasn't good, it's just that I feel like he deserved it a lot more in other years, but well, it is what it is, and it's certainly nothing to be ashamed of. The rest of the season wasn't his most impressive time either. He would only score in 4 matches over 5 months, but wow did he pick them well. He would score Chelsea's only goal in the Carabao Cup final against Tottenham, then score against Spurs once more to get the draw, then score both goals as they defeated Arsenal 2-1, and then score against Liverpool in the Champions League semi-final second leg. First to take them into extra time, and then the winning goal once they were there. He wasn't playing up to the standard, but every time they really needed him, he showed up. But then came the Champions League final against Manchester United, and not only did Drogba fail to score, which was rare for him to do in a final, but he also got a red card minutes before the penalty shootout.
What? Nah, they cheated him. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. You telling me that he got a red card minutes before the shootout, knowing that he probably had the advantage? Nah, they cheated him. I don't want to hear that.
Only Chelsea had one more clutch penalty shooter. Maybe that night would have looked much different.
That's what I'm saying, see?
Eventually, it would even be confirmed that Drogba, had he been available, would have been the one to take the 5th penalty kick and not John Terry, who
exactly. They cheated him.
Famously slipped. Just like this, we were approaching 2009. Drogba was 31 years old already, and it was evident just how fast the clock was ticking. Injuries came up, and by November, Drogba had missed 15 matches in over 135 days. By the time he was back, Anelka had taken his place in the team, and only in February, by the time Gus Hiddink had taken over Scolari's spot, would Drogba get it back. Impressively, from the first time he played a full 90 under Gus Hiddink, he started performing, scoring 9 goals over the next 11 games, including goals in all 4 Champions League matches he played against Liverpool and Juventus. Unfortunately, in the semi-finals, Barcelona would beat them on away goals in an incredible matchup that saw the referee refuse penalty appeal after penalty appeal, and eventually spawned the famous clip of Drogba yelling at the cameras that the match had been a disgrace. This match would become one of the most famous refereeing scandals of all time, and it's still frequently referenced to this day. By the end of the season,
I'm going to do a video on that match for sure.
Chelsea had only won the FA Cup, and as you might imagine, Drogba scored in the final. And right as one of his poorest seasons in terms of goal scoring ended, Drogba started one of his best. Over the 2009-2010 season, he would score 37 goals in 44 matches playing under Carlo Ancelotti.
Efficiency.
These included 2 goals against Atletico to tie the away match in the UCL group stage, 4 against Arsenal in the 2 league matches they played, 1 to give them a late win over United, and finally get Chelsea to first place in the league, and another one to give them the win in the final of the FA Cup. If not for an early exit against Mourinho's Inter in the Champions League, this could have been the perfect year for Drogba. Still, 3 titles and a golden boot were impressive enough. This season could have led anyone to believe that Drogba was here to stay for a bunch more years despite his age, but in reality, it would be his last incredible season for Chelsea.
What?
Though there were still some, if not the most incredible moments to come.
What, they got rid of him?
After a season that left us with not much to remember, the 2011-2012 season would see Drogba leave with a bang. He would only play 2 group stage matches in the Champions League and would still manage to score the only goal against Leverkusen and get 2 goals and 1 assist in the 3-0 win over Valencia. Then, in the last 16, he would get the first goal as Chelsea started an incredible comeback against Napoli, and eventually, he would even assist the winner on extra time. In the first leg with Barcelona in the semi-finals, he would score the only goal. Still, this was a narrow margin, and with 2009 still very fresh in everyone's memory, no one was surprised once Barcelona had gone 2 goals in front at the Camp Nou, but then, suddenly everything went Chelsea's way. Messi missed a penalty, Ramirez scored, and then out of nowhere, as Chelsea seemed bound to concede the third, Fernando Torres on the counter-attack sealed their spot in the Champions League final against Bayern. Once again, Chelsea were far from favourites, and though they held on for a while, on the 83rd minute Muller scored. It seemed like a done deal to most, but not to Drogba, and so, as he had done so many times, he scored in a final to make sure Chelsea stayed afloat. This was the most important goal of his career. On extra time, Shez saved the penalty. On the shootout, Schweinsteiger missed, and this time around Drogba was there to take his penalty, and so Chelsea had to become
We gotta see this. We gotta see this.
champions of Europe, in what would be Drogba's last match for the club. Following this, Drogba
Where he did that and they still got rid of him is crazy. Like, why did they get rid of him? Because of age, injuries? Like, why did they get rid of him?
would join Shanghai Shenhua, though he would only play 11 matches before moving on to Galatasaray, an incredible club with a history of taking in stars and providing them with the fire needed to go a few more years. As he arrived, Drogba was still a European champion and he was welcomed like the king. It truly was. Joining a squad with the likes of Schneider, Altintop, and Eboué. The same old story would follow him to Turkey. He wouldn't score that many, but when they needed, he always did. On his debut, his goal made a difference as they won 2-1. The next time he scored twice to give them the win again. Then he scored against Real Madrid and they won again. And in the only other match he scored that season, once again he scored twice to put them in front 3-1. In his second season, he started by scoring the only goal in the Super Cup against Fenerbahce, then scored to tie the match against Antalyaspor, and scored and assisted as Galatasaray tied with Juventus 2-2. These performances are just not normal. He only scored when he needed them the most. It's freakish, to say the least. Drogba was the ultimate mentality monster. Over the rest of the season, he scored and assisted on another 10 occasions, even giving them a win over Juventus in the process. Everyone would have loved to see this relationship.
I like this. I like this. I like where, you know what I like about this? What I like about this is because there's so many leagues and there's so many different teams. It's not like how I had to deal with the NFL. There's only 32 teams. NBA, there's only like 30, 28, 30, some, how many, 30? I don't know. Where it's limited. There's so many leagues and so many teams that are willing to give you an opportunity to play and bring them into relevance. They're willing to take a chance and say, all right, this guy's 33, he's injury prone, but we still think he got something in the tank. And we believe he can provide us, even with his name, provide us more money for more tickets to get us out of this league. And hopefully we can get upgraded and promoted to another league, we're gonna take a chance on him. I like that about this. Like, it's never say die. That's what I like about this sport so far. It's never say die. And somebody can still have a great career where they consider aged out.
Relationship continue. It was a joy to see, especially for the Galatasaray fans. But then came his victory lap. Mourinho had joined Chelsea once again, and he didn't hesitate to call up Drogba and get the band back together for one more season. After all, given these performances, who cares if he's 36? Drogba would play as a super sub, and in the first few months he was amazing, at one point even scoring or assisting 8 times in 11 matches despite playing just 505 minutes. That averages out to a goal or assist every 63 minutes. Absolutely world class.
Yes, world class.
Over the second half of the season, he became less and less necessary, and by then, even though Chelsea would win the Premier League, he would announce his departure to the MLS. His first season there would be incredible, scoring 12 goals in 14 matches, but over...
So that's why his name sounded familiar, because he came to MLS.
Over time, he lost his ambition, and 4 seasons later, he had officially retired. Drogba said his last goodbye to the world of football as a certified winner, an Ivorian legend on and off the field, one of Chelsea's all-time greats and arguably the most clutch player of all time, having scored 9 goals in 9 finals during his first stint with Chelsea, only ever failing to score in one, the 2008 UCL final. This is a record for the ages, a show of how far your mindset...
That's dope, man. He had a great career. And he put on. Especially for Africa. He put on for Africa. Put on for his country. He was able to deal with all the political stuff and try to stop wars and everything. I like that. As you guys see, that I am tired. I am doing this video at 1 o'clock in the morning. So let me know who else I should see. What other great players? Because this player that I'm looking into is actually from the comments. Somebody, if I like your comment 9 times out of 10, I'll put whatever recommendation that you have on the list. So make sure y'all interact, y'all engage with me, and I'm rocking with y'all, man. Y'all be easy. I'll catch you on the next one.